Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Nova member interview series, where we are going to dive into the inspiring journeys of all the incredible women within our community. These conversations are a space to celebrate transformation, ambition, and soul-led leadership, because when we share our stories, we create deeper connections and empower each other to rise. Today is our first day, as Erin likes to call it, our first pancake, the first time we are doing this. And I'm really excited to introduce Erin Clifford, who is a really powerful leader and change maker within the Nova community. We're going to explore her path, the moments that have shaped her, and what it means to be a part of a community that's redefining success. So we are going to dive right in. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. So I want to start with a pivotal moment in your life. You shared with me that you followed the right path. You achieved financial security, but you still felt unfulfilled. Can you take us back to that moment and share what led you to redefine success for yourself?
Yeah, that moment. Oh, that moment.
What is the moment?
Well, growing up, I was the good kid. I followed the rules and I did everything that I was supposed to do. And I was really good at doing all of the things that I was supposed to be doing. And I got good grades. And when it was time for me to go to college, it was choosing between a path that interested me or a path that I knew was stable. And I chose the path that I knew was stable because that's what my dad did. And he was an engineer. So I got an engineering degree, and it was me in a very male-dominated field, and I made it work. And then at some point, I was like, is this it? Like, is this all life is? I'm just supposed to make it work the rest of my life? And I would go home and research Dungeons and Dragons just so that I can communicate with my office mate. And I had a friend who was a financial planner, and she was helping me learn about what to do with my money and where to put it because I was making all sorts of money after college and no one taught me what to do with any money. I didn't take any classes on that. I didn't have any idea. And one of the things I wanted to do was travel. So my first international trip, solo, I went with a friend, but it wasn't like my parents had planned the trip. I go to Thailand and they call it the land of smiles. And, they have a lot of happiness there, but they don't have a lot of material possessions. And they don't have a lot of what Americans say is like the dream and the millions and the mansions. And they were still so happy. And I just had this pivotal moment of like, I have money, but I'm not happy. These people don't have money, but they are happy, which means I'm missing something. And would I rather money or happiness? And it was in that moment where I had to choose my path forward. And I chose happiness, which incidentally landed me into a career with money.
I was like, does it have to be either or?
Right. Which is so funny, right? When you release something and you surrender into I actually want a life that feels fulfilling for me and a life that I can give back and a life that I can spend time with my family and a life that I can travel and a life that I can be around when my kids are growing up. If I want that, what am I sacrificing? And that actually wasn't the right question to be asking. It was, how can I achieve that? And focusing on achieving that and knowing that the money, the success, the whatever will also follow and everything will fall into place. And so now that's what I help a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs achieve is outside of making the goal, how much money can I achieve? It's how can I achieve a life that feels fulfilling to me and use money as a tool to be able to get there.
I love that. So this is a perfect transition to the business that you founded called Truly Aligned. And I know that you've taught a lot in the Nova community about this, and I've heard you share just how important it is, which is what you're talking about, to earn money in a way that really is reflective of your values. And so what do you feel is missing from a more traditional financial planning model that inspired you and your husband to take a totally different approach and connecting people with the more emotional values aligned side of money?
Yeah, I think One of the most impactful things is being a business owner, you find out very quickly that the problems your business has are actually problems that you have. And it becomes a self-development journey, all the
Mm,
while you're growing a business.
isn't
And
that the truth?
you're like, wow, I'm learning all these modalities for self-development and healing and like helping my body feel good. And oh, that also helps my business. And they really go hand in hand. And so when you go see a financial advisor, most of the time, their questions are very masculine and data driven and numbers based in how can we achieve the biggest number? And for us, and looking at that as the end goal, that really wasn't fulfilling and it wasn't important, like I was just saying. So, what's our first question is, what's actually important about money to you? What is this tool providing you with? And we get answers like security, safety, the ability to send my child to college, the ability to not have to work, but I get to work, the ability to leave my child money so that they can buy a house someday. And, these are all very feeling state motivated decisions that people are making. And when you start the conversation with an analytical, data driven, motivation, it kind of takes away from the emotion that we're trying to experience. And so we really want to focus on what are you looking to accomplish emotionally so that we can help you get there and then use money as a tool to support that.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we make all decisions, right? Whether you're conscious of that or not, is like, how am I trying to feel? And that's the path that I'm going to choose no matter what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to dive into your journey with the Nova because I know you and I just personally had our 1 year anniversary, which I feel like we've lived a lifetime in the last year. Or at least maybe I just feel like I've lived a lifetime in the last year. And I can't believe it's only been a year, but you have recently stepped into the role as our Boulder Constellation leader. So for those that watch this interview, that is our Nova way of saying chapter leader. So Nova Constellation Luminary. And I am just curious what initially drew you to the community and what have been some of the outcomes of being a part of the Nova over the last, I don't know, what has it been? 9 months?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So what initially drew me? So I was originally hosting a dinner. I called it a female founders dinner because when I moved to Denver, I really wanted to build community, which was 2 years ago. So I really wanted to build community, especially with women and especially with other business owners. I think there's a deep connection and an ability to relate when I have those two things in common. And so that's what I was really looking for, especially because my husband is my business partner and he's wonderful, like wonderful, but I need feminine energy in my life. Okay.
Yes, we do.
So I'm hosting these dinners because I love watching my one friend connect with my other friend and then them do business together. And it's just a very abundant and beautiful relationship. And I love being able to facilitate that and encourage that in my groups of friends. And so you had come to one of my dinners, and then the next night I had gone to one of your events, and it was just this feeling of beautiful aligned values and what we were looking to accomplish with women in the community here in Golden and Boulder and Denver, and just being able to connect women in a way that feels deeper than the surface level, while
Yeah.
also being able to support each other and encourage each other and stand by each other in whatever way that means. So what initially drew me to the Nova, I'll be completely honest, the first event I went to smelled like sage, and I walked in and it was a vision board party, and I was like, this is
I'm
it.
into this day. Oh man, you should have. I wish you would have been there. So it has been over a year because that was the end of February. No, beginning of January.
Like January, yeah.
And we did the sweet man that runs events for the Golden Hotel was like offering to sage the room for us. And we did this opening circle before everyone got there with the leaders that were there to like prep the space. And it was all women. And then I think his name is Josh. I hope that's his name. And that sweet man just like stood in this sacred circle with us. And it's, he saged the room. He did all these things. And I was like, I don't know, this is like the perfect place to have this event. Cause we're all about like linking arms with women. And it's not like we don't want men to rise. Let's be clear. We do as well, but it felt so beautiful to have that sacred masculine representation in our community. So you can thank Josh, actually Brenda and Josh, for the sage.
Thank everyone that happened. For me though, it was an enmeshment of business, growth, accountability, support, community, spirituality, right? All of these things that are really important to me as a holistic human being. And I found myself going to other networking events that were business focused, and it was just business. And for me, the Nova really encapsulates my whole person and all of the different parts of myself, which then allows me to show up fully. And I can show up one day as very serious business Erin, and then one day I can show up as, silly, playful Erin. And it just allows me to express who I am fully without feeling like I have to put on a mask or show up as someone specific for this setting. And it's draining when you have to do that. And I really wanted to be able to just be myself with a lot of people who can also be themselves. And so that's really, when you ask, what have I gotten out of it? It's a setting for me to be able to show up and express myself, and then be curious about who others are and give them and hold them in the space where they can feel comfortable to show up in that way too. And oftentimes I've found that that's a new type of setting for people, especially in like the middle of the day, and especially with new people that you've never met or a new place that you've never been in. But I really noticed that when you can create a container like that, it makes it so easy, and we get to practice what that's like in a setting that feels safe, so that when we go back into the real world, you can like express what you've learned and continue to practice that, and then come back monthly and know that you're in a safe container to continue doing that and working on it.
And what do you think that opens up for women? I mean, you kind of alluded to that, but what becomes possible once you know that you have a safe space to be yourself and practice that?
I mean, the first thing that came up, and it's one word, is intuition.
Mm,
I believe that intuition is inherent in women, and for a long time it has been pushed down or not trusted or not respected or whatever it is. Because a lot of times our soul and our spirit is telling us something that seems not rational, or it seems crazy, or it seems just outrageous. And when you don't feel safe, you can't act on that.
yeah.
And so safety allows you to really express your soul's desires.
Yeah. It's the number one thing. Absolutely. And we talk a lot about, or we use the term soul led in the Nova. And so what does soul led ambition mean to you?
A loaded question, Alyssa.
In 5 words or less. I'm just kidding.
How much time do you have? Geez Louise. Well, so I work in money, and what's coming up is abundance. Um, I think ambition is a desire to truly experience our own abundance. And I would prefer to receive that internally than externally. Instead of getting all the accolades and the awards and doing what others think I'm supposed to do, if I can internally create my own goals and wishes and wants and needs, and then live into that and create, I'm living fully in what my soul is looking for me to do. And a lot of people call that ambition.
Mm, very different than the traditional definition of ambition, or the more masculine definition for sure. Well, I have one final question for you. If you could share one piece of guidance to a woman, I'm going to kind of tie this into the way we be together at the Nova as well as your work, who feels really stuck, between chasing security and ambition and all these things that we talked about in a more masculine, stereotypical way. And they're stuck between that security and fulfillment. What would you say to them?
I say to them. I mean, I think the one thing in common with many of us that are part of the Nova is we've done a lot of internal work. We've worked with coaches, we've worked with therapists, we've done a lot of self-exploration. And it doesn't mean making a decision overnight. It just means getting curious about who you are and what you want, and then allowing that to guide you. And it doesn't have to be serious or a huge decision or a life-changing event. It just gets to be a curiosity around what makes you you, and then
And
allowing
yeah.
to be the guide.
And I hear permission in that too. It's the curiosity. And that's quite honestly why we need each other, because if we're left to our own devices, we're gonna just stay in our own cycles. That's what happens. And so that's the power when you can really get curious about your own desire, and then you're around other really weird, powerful women, as we like to call ourselves. It's a Erin Clifford original. Then you have proof that you can do that and it's going to be okay. You have proof that you can listen to that intuition, proof that you can honor your own desires, and that your whole life's not going to crumble, right? Or that the guilt of disappointing people is not going to actually kill you, right? All these things that we build up so big inside of ourselves. So that's what I hear. It's just like, let's get curious, let's give each other permission, and let's get weird.
Yeah, it's like improv, yes, and having a
Mm,
community that continues to yes and you from a place of love and compassion feels so safe and supportive that you start to think about what you actually can accomplish or what you actually do desire. And
mm.
that permission, yeah, it's full circle.
I have, oh, where's my and? I used to have an and in my office. I think it's actually in the box that I gave Emily. I actually had like an and in my office on my shelf right there because of that. It's just like, yes, and what else? What else could be true? Well, how can people get a hold of you if somebody is interested in working with you as a financial advisor and or coming to one of your events in Boulder for the Nova? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a website. It's truly aligned inc.com. You can reach out there, learn more about our practice and what we offer as a service to our financial clients. And then if you are looking to get involved with the Boulder chapter, you can look on either the novaglobal.com, or we have an Eventbrite as well that has all of our upcoming events. Currently, we're doing it on the first Tuesday and the third Tuesday of each month. So if that sounds appealing to you, we would love to connect and have you join us and experience all the wonderful things we just talked about.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and for being permission to anybody that listens to this to really rewrite their own rules of success and trust themselves and listen to their intuition, and also do it in community with those of us that are also really committed to living this way. So I'm just deeply grateful for you, for your friendship, and for your leadership. And just thank you for everything that you are and all that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you and the work that you're doing with the Nova and just being an inspiration and visionary here. It's wonderful to be a part of.
Mm, thanks, Erin.